The human experience of consciousness represents one of the most profound mysteries of existence, a phenomenon that has captivated philosophers, scientists, and thinkers throughout history as they attempt to understand the intricate nature of awareness, self-reflection, and the subjective experience of being alive in a world that seems to exist both within and beyond the boundaries of our individual minds. From the moment we wake each morning to the last conscious thought before sleep, our minds engage in an endless dance of perception, memory, emotion, and cognition, weaving together a tapestry of experience that is uniquely our own yet somehow connected to the universal human condition that transcends cultural, geographical, and temporal boundaries. The journey of consciousness begins in the earliest moments of life, when an infant first becomes aware of the distinction between self and other, gradually developing the cognitive architecture that will support increasingly complex forms of thought, emotion, and social interaction throughout their lifetime. This developmental process is not merely biological, but profoundly shaped by the environment, relationships, and experiences that surround each individual, creating a unique constellation of neural pathways, behavioral patterns, and worldviews that will influence how they perceive and interact with reality for the rest of their lives. As we grow and mature, our consciousness expands beyond the immediate concerns of survival and basic needs to encompass abstract concepts like meaning, purpose, morality, and our place in the larger cosmic order, leading us to ask fundamental questions about the nature of existence, the possibility of life after death, and the significance of our brief time on this planet. The subjective nature of consciousness means that despite sharing common human experiences, each person's inner world remains fundamentally private and inaccessible to others, creating both a sense of isolation and a profound appreciation for the moments when we feel truly understood or connected to another human being. This privacy of consciousness has led to what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, the difficulty of explaining how physical processes in the brain give rise to subjective experience, and why there is something it is like to be conscious rather than simply complex biological machines processing information without any inner experience. Modern neuroscience has made remarkable progress in mapping the neural correlates of consciousness, identifying specific brain regions and networks that appear to be associated with various aspects of conscious experience, from basic sensory perception to complex emotional states and abstract reasoning. Yet the fundamental question of how these physical processes create the rich, qualitative experience of consciousness remains one of the deepest unsolved mysteries in science. The exploration of consciousness has also revealed the remarkable plasticity of the human mind, its ability to adapt, learn, and transform throughout life, suggesting that consciousness is not a fixed entity, but rather a dynamic process that can be cultivated, refined, and expanded through various practices and experiences. Meditation, contemplative practices, and mindfulness techniques have shown remarkable ability to alter states of consciousness, providing practitioners with direct experience of the malleable nature of awareness and the possibility of transcending ordinary patterns of thought and perception to access deeper levels of peace, clarity, and understanding. The study of altered states of consciousness, whether induced through meditation, psychedelic substances, or other means, has revealed that our normal waking consciousness represents just one possible configuration of awareness, and that the human mind is capable of experiencing reality in radically different ways that can provide profound insights into the nature of existence and our place within it. Throughout history, various spiritual and philosophical traditions have developed sophisticated understandings of consciousness, often describing it as fundamental to the nature of reality itself rather than merely an emergent property of complex biological systems, leading to worldviews that see consciousness as eternal, universal, and intimately connected to the divine or absolute nature of existence. These perspectives, while sometimes conflicting with materialist scientific approaches, offer valuable insights into the experiential dimensions of consciousness and the possibility that awareness itself might be a fundamental feature of the universe rather than something that emerges only in sufficiently complex biological systems. The relationship between consciousness and creativity represents another fascinating dimension of human experience, as the creative process often involves accessing states of awareness that transcend ordinary analytical thinking, allowing for novel connections, insights, and expressions that seem to emerge from depths of the mind that are not easily accessible through conscious effort alone. Artists, writers, musicians, and innovators throughout history have described experiences of inspiration and creative flow that suggest consciousness can operate in modes that bypass the usual constraints of logical thinking and social conditioning, accessing what some describe as a more direct connection to the creative source of existence itself. The social dimensions of consciousness reveal how our individual awareness is profoundly shaped by our relationships and interactions with others, creating what some researchers call collective consciousness, shared patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior that emerge from groups of people and can influence individual experience in ways that extend far beyond direct personal contact. This interconnected nature of consciousness suggests that while each person's subjective experience remains private, we are all part of a larger web of awareness that connects us to one another and to the broader patterns of life on Earth, making individual consciousness both a deeply personal phenomenon and a manifestation of something much larger than ourselves. The question of whether consciousness can survive the death of the physical body remains one of the most profound and contentious issues in human thought, with various religious and philosophical traditions offering different perspectives on the possibility of continued existence after death, while scientific materialism generally maintains that consciousness is dependent on brain function and therefore cannot survive physical death. Despite these differing viewpoints, the contemplation of mortality and the possibility of life after death continues to shape human consciousness in profound ways, influencing how we understand the meaning and purpose of our current existence, and the values we choose to embrace during our time on Earth. The evolution of human consciousness appears to be an ongoing process, with each generation building upon the insights and discoveries of previous generations while facing new challenges and opportunities that require fresh perspectives and solutions, suggesting that consciousness itself is not static but continues to evolve and develop both individually and collectively as humanity faces the complex challenges of the modern world. As we move forward into an uncertain future, the exploration of consciousness remains one of the most important endeavors we can undertake, offering the possibility of deeper self-understanding, greater compassion for others, and perhaps even insights into the fundamental nature of reality itself that could transform how we live and relate to one another and to the world around us. The technological revolution of the 21st century has introduced unprecedented questions about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to artificial intelligence, forcing humanity to confront fundamental assumptions about what it means to be aware, sentient, and truly alive in ways that previous generations could never have imagined. As we develop increasingly sophisticated machines capable of processing information, recognizing patterns, and even exhibiting behaviors that appear intelligent or creative, we are compelled to examine whether consciousness is something unique to biological systems or whether it might emerge from any sufficiently complex information processing network, regardless of its substrate. This inquiry into artificial consciousness has profound implications not only for our understanding of technology, but for our conception of ourselves as conscious beings, raising questions about whether human consciousness represents something truly special in the universe or simply one particular manifestation of a more general phenomenon that could theoretically be replicated or even surpassed by artificial systems. The integration of digital technology into every aspect of human life has also fundamentally altered the landscape of consciousness itself, creating new forms of attention, memory, and social interaction that are reshaping how we experience reality and relate to one another in ways that we are only beginning to understand. The constant connectivity enabled by smartphones, social media, and the Internet has created what some researchers describe as an extended mind phenomenon, where our cognitive processes are increasingly distributed across digital networks and external devices, blurring the boundaries between internal consciousness and external technological systems in ways that challenge traditional notions of individual identity and autonomous thought. This digital transformation of consciousness has brought both remarkable opportunities for learning, creativity, and connection, as well as significant challenges related to attention fragmentation, information overload, and the potential for manipulation by algorithms designed to capture and monetize human attention for commercial purposes. The phenomenon of digital addiction and its impact on consciousness reveals how our ancient neural reward systems, evolved for a very different environment, can be hijacked by modern technologies in ways that fundamentally alter our relationship to attention, desire, and satisfaction, potentially undermining our capacity for deep reflection, sustained focus, and genuine contentment. The rise of virtual and augmented reality technologies promises to further transform the landscape of human consciousness by creating increasingly immersive, artificial environments that can feel as real and compelling as physical reality, raising profound questions about the nature of authentic experience and the potential for technology to either enhance or diminish our capacity for meaningful engagement with the world around us. These developments in consciousness-altering technology intersect with growing scientific understanding of neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself throughout life in response to experience, suggesting that our conscious experience is far more malleable and dependent on environmental factors than previously understood, and that the technological environments we create and inhabit will literally reshape the neural structures that support our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. The global nature of modern communication has also created new forms of collective consciousness that transcend geographical boundaries, enabling worldwide movements, shared experiences, and collaborative problem-solving on a scale never before possible in human history, while simultaneously creating new vulnerabilities to misinformation, polarization, and the manipulation of public opinion through sophisticated propaganda techniques. The environmental crisis facing humanity has introduced new dimensions to the evolution of consciousness, as growing awareness of climate change, biodiversity loss, and ecological destruction forces us to confront the limitations of anthropocentric thinking and develop new forms of ecological consciousness that recognize our fundamental interdependence with all life on Earth. This ecological awakening represents a profound shift in consciousness that challenges the individualistic and materialistic worldview that has dominated Western culture for centuries, calling for a more holistic understanding of human existence that recognizes our role as part of a larger living system rather than separate from or superior to the natural world. The practice of cultivating ecological consciousness involves not only intellectual understanding, but also emotional and spiritual transformation, as we learn to experience ourselves as embedded within rather than separate from the web of life, developing what some describe as ecological empathy, the ability to feel connected to and responsible for the well-being of other species and ecosystems. This expansion of consciousness beyond the boundaries of individual human experience represents what many consider to be the next stage in human evolution, requiring us to develop new forms of ethical thinking, decision-making, and social organization that take into account the long-term consequences of our actions on the planetary systems that support all life. The emerging field of consciousness studies has begun to integrate insights from neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and contemplative traditions in ways that promise to deepen our understanding of the full spectrum of human conscious experience. From ordinary waking consciousness to the extraordinary states accessed through meditation, psychedelic experiences, and other transformative practices. This interdisciplinary approach to consciousness research has revealed that many of the insights about the nature of mind and reality developed by contemplative traditions over thousands of years are now being validated and refined by modern scientific methods, creating new possibilities for understanding consciousness that bridge the gap between subjective experience and objective investigation. The therapeutic applications of consciousness research have led to breakthroughs in treating mental health conditions, addiction, and trauma through approaches that work directly with consciousness itself rather than simply suppressing symptoms, offering new hope for millions of people suffering from conditions that have historically been difficult to treat with conventional methods. These developments in consciousness-based healing suggest that many psychological and even physical ailments may be fundamentally related to disturbances in consciousness itself, and that restoring healthy patterns of awareness and attention may be key to comprehensive healing and well-being. The question of whether consciousness can be enhanced, expanded, or optimized through various practices and technologies has become increasingly relevant as we develop new tools for measuring and potentially modifying states of consciousness, raising both exciting possibilities for human flourishing and serious ethical concerns about the appropriate use of consciousness-altering technologies. The democratization of consciousness research through citizen science initiatives, online communities, and accessible tools for monitoring brain activity has created new opportunities for individuals to explore and experiment with their own consciousness in ways that were previously available only to trained researchers or contemplative practitioners. This grassroots exploration of consciousness has the potential to accelerate our understanding of human awareness while also raising important questions about safety, ethics, and the responsible development of consciousness-enhancing practices and technologies. As we stand at the threshold of what some researchers call the consciousness revolution, we face unprecedented opportunities to understand and potentially transform the fundamental nature of human experience, while also confronting serious challenges related to the ethical implications of consciousness research, the potential for misuse of consciousness-altering technologies, and the need to ensure that advances in our understanding of consciousness serve to enhance rather than diminish human flourishing and well-being. The future of consciousness research will likely require new forms of collaboration between scientists, philosophers, contemplatives, and ethicists as we navigate the complex terrain of investigating the most intimate and fundamental aspects of human existence while remaining committed to the values of wisdom, compassion, and the promotion of genuine human flourishing in all its diverse manifestations. The culmination of humanity's long journey through the evolution of consciousness brings us to a pivotal moment in our collective story, where the accumulated wisdom of millennia of human experience converges with unprecedented technological capabilities and urgent global challenges to create what may be the most critical period in the history of conscious life on Earth. As we stand at this crossroads, the choices we make about how to develop, apply, and share our understanding of consciousness will determine not only the future of human civilization, but potentially the fate of consciousness itself as a phenomenon in the universe, making our current moment one of extraordinary responsibility and profound opportunity. The integration of ancient wisdom traditions with cutting-edge scientific research has revealed that consciousness is not merely a byproduct of brain activity, but appears to be a fundamental feature of reality itself, suggesting that our individual and collective conscious experiences are part of a vast, interconnected web of awareness that extends far beyond human beings to encompass all forms of life and perhaps even the cosmos itself. This recognition has profound implications for how we understand our place in the universe and our responsibilities to one another and to the planet that sustains us, challenging us to move beyond narrow self-interest toward a more expansive vision of what it means to be conscious beings in an interconnected world. The development of artificial intelligence and machine learning systems has accelerated our understanding of information processing and pattern recognition while simultaneously highlighting the unique qualities of human consciousness that may be irreplaceable, including our capacity for empathy, creativity, moral reasoning, and a subjective experience of meaning and purpose that gives depth and richness to conscious existence. Rather than viewing artificial intelligence as a threat to human consciousness, we are beginning to see it as a tool that can enhance and amplify human awareness while helping us solve complex problems that require processing vast amounts of information beyond the capacity of individual human minds. The collaborative relationship between human consciousness and artificial intelligence represents a new frontier in the evolution of awareness, one that could lead to unprecedented breakthroughs in science, medicine, education, and our understanding of consciousness itself, while also requiring us to maintain our commitment to human values and the irreplaceable qualities that make conscious experience meaningful and worthwhile. The global challenges facing humanity in the 21st century, from climate change and environmental destruction to social inequality and political polarization, require a fundamental transformation in consciousness that goes beyond technological solutions to address the underlying patterns of thinking and behavior that have created these crises. This transformation involves developing what we might call integral consciousness, a way of being aware that integrates rational thinking with emotional intelligence, individual needs with collective well-being, and human concerns with the broader ecological systems that support all life on Earth. The cultivation of integral consciousness requires not only intellectual understanding, but also deep personal transformation, as individuals learn to transcend the limitations of ego-centered thinking to embrace a more inclusive and compassionate way of being in the world. This process of consciousness transformation is both deeply personal and inherently collective, as the awakening of individual awareness contributes to the emergence of new forms of social organization, economic systems, and political structures that reflect higher levels of human development and wisdom. The practice of meditation, contemplative inquiry, and other consciousness developing disciplines has become increasingly important as more people recognize that external changes in technology and social structures must be accompanied by inner transformation. If we are to create a sustainable and flourishing future for all life on Earth, the democratization of consciousness practices through modern communication technologies has made ancient wisdom traditions accessible to people around the world, creating unprecedented opportunities for collective awakening and the rapid spread of transformative insights and practices that can accelerate the evolution of human consciousness. The emergence of global consciousness networks, facilitated by digital technology and characterized by shared values of compassion, wisdom, and ecological responsibility, represents a new phase in human evolution that transcends traditional boundaries of nationality, culture, and ideology to create a truly planetary form of awareness. This global consciousness movement is not merely an intellectual or spiritual phenomenon, but is manifesting in practical ways through collaborative solutions to global challenges. new forms of economic organization based on sustainability and on equity, and political movements that prioritize the long-term well-being of all life over short-term profit and power. The recognition that consciousness is not confined to human beings, but extends throughout the natural world, has led to a profound shift in our relationship with other species and ecosystems, moving away from the anthropocentric worldview that has dominated human civilization toward a more biocentric or ecocentric understanding of our place in the web of life. This ecological consciousness involves not only intellectual recognition of our interdependence with nature, but also the cultivation of direct experiential connectual world, allowing us to feel our kinship with all living beings, and to make decisions based on love and respect for the entire community of life. The healing of the artificial separation between human consciousness and nature represents one of the most important aspects of our current evolutionary moment, as we learn to experience ourselves as expressions of the same creative intelligence that manifests throughout the cosmos in countless forms and patterns. The future of human consciousness appears to be moving toward greater integration, compassion, and wisdom as more people awaken to the deeper dimensions of awareness and begin to embody the values and behaviors that reflect this expanded understanding of what it means to be conscious beings in an interconnected universe. This evolution is not guaranteed and will require sustained effort, dedication, and courage from millions of people around the world who are committed to the transformation of consciousness as the foundation for creating a more just, sustainable, and compassionate world. The story of consciousness is ultimately the story of awakening, the gradual recognition of our true nature as interconnected expressions of a universal awareness that is both infinitely vast and intimately present in every moment of experience. As we continue to explore the depths of consciousness through scientific research, contemplative practice, and creative expression, we are discovering that the journey of awakening is not a destination to be reached, but an ongoing process of deepening understanding, expanding compassion, and embodying wisdom in our daily lives and relationships. The great adventure of consciousness continues to unfold through each of us as we participate in the collective awakening of humanity and the emergence of a new chapter in the evolution of awareness on Earth, one that holds the promise of greater peace, understanding, and flourishing for all conscious beings now and in the generations to come. In the end, the story of consciousness is our story. The story of beings who have the remarkable capacity to be aware of their own awareness, to question the nature of existence, and to consciously participate in the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself, making each moment of conscious experience a precious opportunity to contribute to the healing and transformation of our world through the power of awakened awareness.